In this video, I thought I would share my process for restoring old pocket knives. I look for pocket knives that have carbon steel blades and that are made in the USA. I won these two knives on eBay for about $1 each, plus shipping. The Schrade old-timer knife on the bottom has a broken blade, and the imperial diamond edge is badly corroded. Broken blades and corrosion are the typical problems I find with knives in this price range. If you have an old pocket knife that you are interested in restoring, I would recommend doing a little internet research on the manufacturer first, since some pocket knives may be more valuable left unrestored. My first step with the old timer was the broken blade. Since replacing the blade is above my talent level, I can try to modify the blade into something useful or grind it off and make this a two-blade knife. I used a marker to sketch a cut line on the blade. This lets me visualize what the modified blade will look like before I make the cut. I used my Dremel and a cutoff wheel to modify the blade. You could also use a bench grinder for this. I just find the cutoff wheel generates less heat. I then used a grinding stone to smooth the rough edge. I used the cutoff wheel to carefully reinstate the thumbnail groove, and then I shaped it a little bit more with the grinding stone. Once I was happy with the basic shape of the blade on the old timer, I continued with cleaning both knives. I like to soak the knives in WD-40. I use Scotch-Brite to remove the rust from the knives. I use a modified popsicle stick to push the Scotch-Brite into tight areas. A wire brush is also handy for hard to reach areas. I try to keep the Scotch-Brite wet with WD-40 as I go. I make sure I clean the thumbnail grooves as well. The sides of the diamond edge were peeling off. Looks like they are made of thin plastic. I discovered that I could remove the sides easily by bending up tabs on one end with a small screwdriver. There was a lot of corrosion under the sides. The plastic coating was easily removed from the sides. I used a wire brush to remove the worst of the rust. And then I followed up with some WD-40, some Scotch-Brite. I had to use a folded piece of 400 grit wet and dry sandpaper to remove the rust from inside the knife. You can see how bad the rust was when I rinsed with WD-40. So here's the two knives after most of the rust has been removed. Getting the inside of the diamond edge clean took repeated sanding and rinsing with WD-40. To brighten up the blades, I used 3 grades of wet and dry sandpaper along with WD-40 as a lubricant. I started with 400, then went to 800, and I finished with 1000 grit. I like to use a piece of wood to support the blade as I sand. This method also protects me from cutting myself. The blades of both knives had some deep pitting. I would have to remove too much metal to eliminate all of the pitting completely. Just as an experiment, I tried polishing the blades with my Dremel and some emery compound. I was surprised how nicely the carbon steel blades polished up. I may be in lipstick on a pig territory with this polishing, but it was easy to do. I decided to paint the sides of the diamond edge knife. I roughed up the areas to be painted with 400 grit to help the paint stick. I masked the parts I wanted to leave unpainted and used gloss black spray paint. I let the paint dry overnight before removing the masking tape. I think the sides turned out nicely. As an added touch, I carefully sanded the paint off of the raised fake rivets. My final step was to sharpen the blades. I am no expert at sharpening, but I find that I can get a really good edge on these old carbon steel blades. So here's some photos of the restored knives. Here's a close-up of the blade I modified on the old timer. I think the painted black sides look good on the diamond edge. I'm not sure how durable the paint will be, but it is easily touched up. Here's another look at the before and after. I think both knives turned out pretty nice. Thanks for watching.